Okay, every page for a book starts out like this. It's called the original thumbnail sketch. It's actually called a thumbnail sketch because it's usually really small. We're just working out ideas at this point and getting a sense of what the composition is going to be, where the people are going to stand, and how many people are going to be in the image, and what are the ideas we want to get across in this page. It's usually really rough, it's always black and white, and it's okay if it's sloppy. Next, we have the cleaned up sketch. You'll notice it's still in black and white, but it's gotten a little cleaner. It's gotten a lot more detail, and we're starting to actually show more action. This is part of the process where we start to fix some of the mistakes and get closer to where we eventually want the finished picture to be. This is probably my favorite part in the process of making an illustration. It's called characterization. Now, if you go back to the first two sketches, you'll notice that the characters were kind of boring and basic, but not anymore. Now I'm starting to figure out exactly what they're going to look like, giving them some personality and some details and some specific items that make them look special and unique. Now, if characterization was my favorite part of making a picture, the hardest part of doing a picture for me is this part. This is when I start to figure out what the colors should be. Now, it's not as easy as it sounds because every book has a different way that it gets colored. I use different brushes or a different palette. A palette is the types of colors you use. So this was my first attempt at this page from the book Bruce the Spruce. And at the time, I thought it would work really well if all the colors were sort of gray. Everything would be browns and gray. I would realize pretty quick that that was not a good idea, so this first color study didn't work. Luckily, my second color study worked perfectly. I realized that since the mayor gets the news that Bruce the Spruce has gone missing early in the morning, it would make sense that since it was about sunrise time, his office would be flooded with orange and yellow and bright colors. That would make it feel like it was really, really early in the morning. You'll also notice that at this point I've started to add more details, more telephones ringing with everyone panicking that the Christmas tree is missing. Now, after all those steps, I have arrived here at the final sketch. This is the drawing I will use to create the actual finished illustration. Now, it's been a whole long process, but look at all that detail that's been added. Now there's papers flying everywhere, lots of telephones ringing, and I've even added a new character, a secretary that gets to write down all of Mayor Metropolis's angry rants. And in the background, you'll see Bruce the Spruce for the first time. There he is, sneaking out in between the buildings. After all those steps, we are now at the last part of the journey of creating an illustration. And that part starts with this, the clean drawing. The clean drawing is made with a pencil, and it's traced off of that final sketch in the previous step. Now, the reason I trace it is so that it's totally exactly what I want. And now everything is perfectly clean, everything is in the right place, and everything is ready to go to the last part of the process, and that is adding the color. Ta-da! Here it is, the finished illustration. Now, I had explained that I scanned in my clean drawing into the computer, and that's because I do all of my drawings by hand, but I do all the coloring in the computer. It's real easy. It's very simple Photoshop. I don't use anything that fancy, and every one of you would have access to that program, and it's real easy to learn. Now, technically, this drawing probably isn't totally finished because there'll be a point when I get closer to the end of the book where I'll actually come back and add some more details and make some small changes. But for now, this drawing is finished, and I'm ready to go to the next page.